Me love the life. Me do it despite.
Baby, pana, they say you like you all. I got you all. Baby, pana, anywhere that you go, I can follow you to go. Baby, new level.
You're listening to WGHC 98.3 FM.
New level, new level. New level, new level. New level, new level. I them turn Tony in a rebel. Pam pam banana pam panam pananam pam pam banana pam panam pam 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 banana pam panam pananam pam pam banana pam panam pam.
Your voice, your music, your station. WGHC 98.3 FM.
I am Mazi KK Odeluga.
Mazi Ejikeme Obasi.
Na Mazi Oke Okachuku.
This is Straight Talk Radio, the world as we see.
Coming to you from WGHC 98.3 FM. Your voice, your music, your station.
Listen to us this and every Saturday at 4 to 5 p.m. U.S. Central, and this and every Tuesday at 9 to 10 p.m. U.S. Central.
Ndewono.
Good evening and welcome to Straight Talk Radio on WGHC 98.3 FM. Your voice, your music, your station. And this is Straight Talk. With me in the studio is
Mazi KK Odeluga.
And Mazi Ejike Obasi.
I am Mazi Oke Okachuku, and we welcome you to our Global Tuesday when we discuss everything in the global atmosphere. This is Straight Talk, and this is the world as we see it from an Igbo perspective, where we share the news and current events from an immigrant view, from an Igbo perspective, from the diaspora voices. So today we have a lot of things going on in the globe. If you live in the U.S., you'll be bombarded by all news about the Supreme Court justice pick and information and development surrounding it. I'm not a legal analyst. I could probably not be able to tell you what's going on, but from what we are hearing and what we're getting, that's a whole lot of work to be done. And we pray and hope that the right things get done, that every voice that needs to be heard gets heard. Also in the U.S., we have visiting countries visiting. In the global field, we know about North Korea, the Koreas meeting and trying to mend fences, and then the relationship as it pertains to the U.S. We know in Germany that there are some political rumbling going on. Also in Canada, right next to us, Trudeau is finding that local politics is not as easy as it's always been. But today we want to focus on a city that we broadcast from. We are coming to you from the uptown area, the north side of the city of Chicago. And in Chicago, there is a trial going on right now that has to do with the Laquan McDonald
yes.
case. This is a case where the police, the Chicago police, or a particular member or particular members of the Chicago police are on trial for cover-up, but the first is the policeman that shot Laquan McDonald. Mazi Obasi, you want to start us off?
Well, yes, I think a brief synopsis. Laquan McDonald was found to be behaving erratically and was the cops were on the scene. There were cops on the scene monitoring him. Apparently, from the stories being told, the cops did not have a taser with them and elected to continue to monitor him without directly confronting him while waiting for a taser to be made available. At the time, the officer in question arrived. Laquan McDonald was already ringed by the police. There was a fence. He could not have escaped. And this policeman got out of the car and within less than a minute of exiting the car had fired 16 shots into Laquan McDonald. And for those who may not have been following this, the initial story, of course, was that he had lunged towards the policeman with a knife.
And they were afraid for their lives.
So forcing the policeman in question to shoot him. as a defense measure, as he was afraid of his life. This was now given as an official story. It was carried in many news broadcasts in the Chicagoland area.
And he would have been laid to rest because also they went ahead and gave some money to the family. But good media reporting.
Well, concerned citizens,
Yes.
I think. Concerned people who would not lay down and, die. People who decided that this case...
Men of goodwill who will not let evil continue.
Absolutely. So that this had to be brought to light. And again, I encourage people who live in the United States or who are able to access media from the United States to go to public radio.
NPR.
WBEZ.
Yes, or NPR.org. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. And look for the podcast 16 Shots, because it details the events surrounding the killing and, more importantly, the cover-up and the heroic efforts of individuals that have forced this issue to where it is today.
Yeah, and I think that point needs to be echoed, because regarding the whole Chicago violence situation,
Yes.
most times what you hear about is the challenges with silence within the minority communities,
Yes.
where
Urban.
they think that people don't want to be
Snitches.
snitches.
The code of silence.
no
Yes.
snitches.
So
Yes.
no snitching code.
Yes.
What is worse is the conspiracy within the police force, where silence has not only, like we had in the Laquan McDonald's cover-up, but also in extracting false confessions,
Yep.
condoning torture within the police force,
Yep.
and corruption
The blue code.
within the police force, where the planting of evidence,
Yep.
the stealing of evidence, and by that I mean people stealing drugs
And reselling
and
in the market.
and reselling or stealing
Supplemental.
or taking monies when they,
Shaking down.
people
or
down.
shaking down
Yes.
young minority offenders
Yep.
for some favors or for big stuff. So a lot of that is going on within the police force, and that has built that has also led to the mistrust
Yes.
between the police force and the community, because if a lot of the young men and women in our community see the police as not being truthful,
Yep.
or the police force not being truthful,
Yep.
then they will not trust you with confidential information, or they won't even trust you with,
Because you're not helpful to the community.
no, if
to
they
start
give
with.
if they give you an information about who they
You
think,
may mistreat it, misuse it.
it's not a question. You might end up getting to the person who, by telling them it was you that pointed the finger at them, and then your life will be vulnerable. If they may not have that confidentiality, and there might be some kind of break in the
Yes.
code of in the confidentiality that is needed for people who give you.
So I'll give an example. So the week that we were talking about the number of shootings in Chicago going up to 71, the
Yes.
week of Lollapalooza.
Yes.
What happened that week in the urban neighborhood, as we will call it, in the south side of Chicago, was the police took a big trailer full of shoes, a lot of name brand shoes, and parked it on the street with the trailer wide open.
Yes.
Yes.
That's entrapment. Now, maybe there are people still in the neighborhood, and you know this, and you could do proper investigation, but why would you park that on the street where you know a lot of teenagers, a lot of young kids who probably don't know any better, who probably are from poor families, who it's a terrible neighborhood, it's not a good neighborhood anyway.
Yes.
What that would do is if any of those kids or any of those men or any of those women went into into that parked trailer and took any shoe that's the start of the end of their life, because they'll end up with a record. Maybe it's the first time they did it. Maybe it's the 20th time they did it. But why would you entrap somebody that way?
Yeah.
I understand that sometimes the way to find people who do bad stuff is to entice them with the bad stuff they do. But there are better ways to police this community. There are better ways to involve the community, because what happened when that trailer showed up is a lot of people saw it and saw what was about to happen and spoke up and started pointing it out and started telling the police to move that out of their neighborhood.
Yes.
That's not a way to actually be able to gain the
No,
trust
it's-
of a community that you want to cooperate
And
with you.
and why was it that the community was able to pick it up? Because
It's happened before.
yes,
Not
so
the first
so
time.
so they know that there have been so-called sting operations where drugs were purposefully brought into communities
Yep.
and let loose,
Yep.
and so
Guns, drugs,
and-
all
and-
these things that are plaguing the community.
interestingly, these things will not pass a traditional IRB review committee if you
Yes.
were doing research.
Yes.
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 If you were doing research and you wanted to set up a system where you gave people what will be deterrent, that will actually be like a poison,
Yep.
no ethical board,
Will I
no
approve it?
ethics board will approve you to conduct such a study.
Yep.
Now, why would the police have those kinds of things? And so that is also part of
It's
the
a
problem.
misunderstanding of the community.
So let's even look at, because we are looking at it from one angle.
Yes.
Look at it from another angle. So, United States of America is still a predominantly white country.
Not for so long.
Whenever issues like this happen
Yeah.
that involve people of color,
Yep.
there is usually a strong push to rally around the police.
Yes.
Of course, this is helped in great measure by the traditional press, who will go out of the way to show that the victim was, quote unquote, a bad guy.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
But so, I just want to point out a couple of things.
Yes.
We used to have an ex-police chief, Burge, that clearly was shown to, over a period, convicted of torturing
Yes.
innocent people
Getting false
and getting
confessions.
false confession,
Yep.
many of whom have been freed.
Yes.
Okay, these are all people of
And
color.
some who are still struggling to be
Okay.
freed.
So, now we have Laquan McDonald.
Yes.
Regardless of what the trial shows or does not show,
Yep.
the one thing you cannot take away is a cop came to a scene where a suspect, or whatever you want to call Laquan McDonald, was contained
Pulp.
and with little or no provocation killed him.
Yes.
Okay?
Right.
So my question now is, what will it take for white America to begin to recognize that the pains minority America feels with regards to policing in this country is genuine and real? What will it take to open their eyes?
Even before we get there, so I want to take it back a little few notches, right?
Okay.
So we know that policing, the first responders, the firefighters, this is not an easy job. These are people who we expect, and a lot of them do, to put their life on the line every day
That's
to
right.
take care of people and,
Okay.
and save people, and a lot of them do.
Yes.
A ton of them do.
Yes.
Now there are bad apples. And the problem with bad apples is, if we continue to cover for the bad apples,
We
you're not-
are bad apples.
we are bad
too.
apples, because any
what's his name? The singer, One Bad Apple.
oh, yes
spoils the whole bunch.
It
So,
only
yes.
takes a little yeast
Michael
to
Jackson.
takes a little yeast to leaven the whole
the whole bread. Yes.
Or ka ndị Igbo na-asị na ofu aka lụta mmanụ
Olu ọrụ
olu
ọnụ.
ọrụ ọnụ. So I agree with what you're saying,
Yes,
because if you look at the Laquan McDonald setup,
yes,
Yes.
okay, if this whole scenario was playing out, they were already a lot of police officers
Doing the
who
right
came
thing.
in
And did the right
and
thing.
who were doing a
At least
professional
what,
job.
What I'll say is the right thing.
No,
Yes.
no. I mean,
Yes.
they, as far as they had assessed the situation,
And know that
Contained-
this guy is not in
contained
his
him.
right mind.
so they had cops moving with cars around him.
Yes.
They had people on foot, and they said they were waiting for a taser. They knew it was not a gun situation.
Yep.
It was a taser situation to stop him and maybe arrest him or get him help.
Yes.
So then, if you were approaching, so Mr. Van Dyke,
Yes.
when your patrol car was coming in, what you should have been asking the commander, the incident commander on that
Somebody
on
was
that
in
beat,
charge. Yes.
what is the next move? Where do you want me to deploy? What do you want me to do?
Yeah.
But he drives up. Within 6 seconds of stepping out of the vehicle, he's already taking charge.
16.
No, so to me, he's a rogue officer.
Right.
Because if you cannot come into a setup like that. If he was the first person to respond,
Yes.
we can say maybe he made a quick judgment based on what he's seeing.
Yes.
But no, this was already
an assembly, a gang of police already.
and so
on the
this
scene.
was already a stable situation that was getting escalated, but they were being managed carefully by those who were there.
being de-escalated like they. So my argument with the police, actually, because a lot of the videos we see with police officers,
Yes.
especially when they are mistreating the citizen that they are accosting, whether it's a black person or a brown person or white person, what tugs my heart most of the time is that the police is the one escalating situations where the person they're talking to is trying to de-escalate.
Yes, well,
And I'm
well-
not sure if it's something in the water or something in the training.
No, it's something to do with police training.
Yes.
Because I would think that the responsibility to de-escalate, and actually I've seen it a whole lot before these videos started becoming normal.
Yeah.
What used to happen is you see somebody who's totally wrong, and the police is there trying to keep the peace, and they are escalating, yelling on their face, doing all kind, and the police keeps their cool and calm because of training. When did the training change so that the police comes to a situation and somebody is saying yes, and they drag them and push them to the ground and break their nose and step on their neck and all this kind of nonsense that
Well, because the police has become militarized.
That's right. So
we no longer police the way it. I was talking to somebody, and it is funny. For those who remember how it used to be in England, the police didn't have guns.
yes.
baton,
A whistle and a billy club. Exactly.
called baton.
And so, this, I don't know when, all of a sudden, to draw your weapon.
There
So
is no
you-
longer any community policing. The police don't come around the community anymore. The
no.
only time you see them is sitting in their car with either radar gun or trying to find somebody to give a ticket or
Well,
picking on people.
Yeah.
So
Nobody's walking around the neighborhood
compile,
saying hello and playing with the kids, at least in the neighborhoods that I've been at and the ones I live in.
No.
But going back to what you're saying, because I think this is a very important point you're making. There are a lot of decent, good policemen
Yes.
who go out every day and try to do a good job.
Yes, and
But I
with
think-
their life on the line a lot of times.
But it is important for them to recognize that for as long as the bad eggs continue to operate, it is very
And
difficult.
they tolerate the conditions that allow them to operate.
You go. There you go.
can't be free and free is a bad word. You cannot be good if you allow bad things to happen.
Yes. So
Even
so,
if you're not perpetrating the bad thing.
Yeah.
So what are we talking about? You show up, you see your fellow officer make a bad call.
Yeah.
What you should tell him in a whisper or two, officer, let me take this over.
Yes.
Can you step back?
Yep.
And so you withdraw him from that, and then you try to
De-escalate.
De-escalate.
because there might have been something. But what I see, and I say this because I've forgotten this professional athlete, the Milwaukee episode.
Yes. Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
the first cop that came to that whole encounter, there were issues.
Yes.
Every other police officer,
He was wrong that he parked his car in the wrong place.
that's right, he was
Yes.
wrong.
Yes.
But the first officer already hit it wrong.
Yes.
So things were beginning to go
South.
south. all the other officers came. Instead of asking the cop who
And
got involved,
de-escalating.
say, okay, now this young man,
They
let's find out.
further escalated.
That's right. Pull him to the side and say, young man, you stay over there.
Actually,
And
I have
let's-
a better one.
Yes.
So there's this tennis player, the black tennis player. I'm forgetting his name in New York.
Yes.
He was in a hotel. He was at a hotel,
Oh, yes.
standing,
Yes, waiting for
somebody
in
or
front of
maybe
a
his
hotel.
car.
Yes.
And he
And they
just
mistook
fit,
him for
he just
somebody
fit a
else.
profile,
Yes.
and the police stopped the car. Didn't even ask him a question. Took him without him knowing what. Before he could say what's going on, put him to the ground, broke his nose. I mean, what kind of nonsense is that? That you, even if he fit a profile of a murderer, right? Why would you treat him that way? Now, why would people of my hue and people, black and brown people, be concerned that this is only happening to them? Remember the guy that went into Charlotte
And shot people
shot
in
up a whole
church?
bunch of people and disappeared? When the police found him, what did they do? He was hungry. They took him to Burger King. He just happens to be white.
Yes.
Okay.
No, he would have been told to come out with
hands up, and even if he wasn't doing it right, they'll
We'll talk him
quietly.
down. Yeah. So
There was another video of some guy who seemed to be hyped up on PCP in a restaurant.
Yes.
The police came. He wrestled the police, took him to the ground, beat him to the ground, ran around. They chased him. There were two cops. Then the third cop came, and he was doing all kinds of mess. Eventually, they got to the point where they arrested him, as they should.
Yes.
But nobody was kicking him on the head. Nobody was twisting his arm the wrong way and shouting all kinds of commands and say and hitting him say, "Stop trying to take my gun." Or any. Actually, the guy tried to take their gun.
No. You see, again, what we all need to realize.
Yes.
And we're saying to the good cop,
Yes.
your professional integrity and the image of your the
on the
reputation
line.
of your profession is on the line.
Yes.
You see, it's just like the physicians. It got to a point where everybody said, no physician want to testify against another.
Yes.
If there's a malpractice suit, there are several physicians who will come out, review your performance as a professional, and critique it to the point that if you have to go before the law, then they will also come and testify.
Yes.
That's what is called peer review. You know, if there's a death in the hospital,
Professional ethics.
no, if there's a death in the hospital that fits a certain profile, there is a mobility conference. Now, everybody looks at that case, and the entire medical community within that hospital comes together to review what went wrong, when went down, what could have been done differently, what could be learned from this. That is how you purify your system. That's how you improve.
And it's
that's
it's a learning opportunity
and that's
to
how
make
you
it better the next
that's
time.
right, and that's how you put in that peer pressure that moves the profession in a positive direction. It is not punitive. I heard about the Chicago police woman who said that she became a whistleblower within the police force, and they told her clearly, the precinct commander told her that if you go out, we're not going to back you up.
Yes, I heard that too.
And she was clear that there was a death sentence on her life.
Not just
By
the
her
precinct
colleague.
commander, but then the police union.
yes.
Because
Well,
And so-
now you're talking.
So the police union sees its role as defending the interests of its people. Because remember the Laquan McDonald's case, the first public statement on this situation was made by a representative
of
from the
police
police union,
Yeah.
trying to, and he sold such a big lie to everybody around, and that was the beginning of the disinformation and the
cover-up.
cover-up. And
Yep.
so I hope that he should be one of those people testifying about why he gave the information he gave and from
Where he
whom
got it
he
from.
got the information
Yes.
from, because he wasn't there.
Well, so let's move beyond the police, fraternal order of police.
Yes.
That's right.
Are you there to protect bad cops, or are you there to uphold and uplift the police department in Chicago?
Yes.
Why is it? It seems to me that, okay, I can understand you not coming out publicly to castigate a fellow member. But if you truly are looking out for the best interest of the police as a unit,
Yes.
internally, a lot of these things should have been taken care of.
We have internal affairs in most police places. I mean, that do these kind of investigations.
Yeah, it's more.
But what are they doing?
What have-
No.
what have they
have they
done?
done?
You see, this is the way it's looked at.
Yeah.
I don't want to be the person that destroyed your career.
Career.
I don't want to be the person who
So therefore, destroy a whole bunch of careers while you're at it.
that's right. Cost you your pension,
Yeah.
or brought discredit to my fellow
But I'll bring discredit to the
brother.
precinct.
No. You see, remember what the call was in Laquan McDonald.
Yeah.
The dispatcher said, "What has happened to the victim?"
Yep.
The police guy who was talking to the dispatcher said, "No, the suspect is not the victim; he's the suspect."
He's no.
Yeah,
he's,
so
he's
change, well,
right.
He said, "Change the word,
the language, right?
change the language. He's not a victim, because if he's a victim, then it means that there's somebody
who
did something
caused
to
him.
him.
There's somebody who caused him to be a victim.
So he quickly, and what surprised me, that in the middle of a crisis management, that
were already
the police
protecting.
officer had the presence of mind to pick up that the dispatcher was reporting accurately what was going on, but he knew this has to be corrected in this interaction, and corrected the dispatcher, the victim, and the dispatcher said yes, which means we now know that the language
all
got
in
to change.
cahoot, right.
No, because again, all these are people, I hear their voices, people that I know their wives, I know their spouses, I know their children, I know their parents. We are all in this together.
I understand
That's
family
fine.
and the need to
but
try to
Laquan
protect
McDonald
family.
also
had
had a
his
family.
own network.
Yes.
He had his own network
has
of
a
people who
family
cared about him and
who loved him.
Yes, and what was so blatant, again, it shows the level how those officers that gathered there viewed fellow human life.
Right.
When he was down, they all stood around doing nothing. It was a state trooper who saw the police squad cars going towards a certain direction, who arrived at the scene and saw him down and started putting on his glove to go in to help him.
Yep.
It was not a Chicago CPS, it was not a Chicago police officer, it was a state trooper who just came in to help, but he was the one with a meed of kindness, who had compassion on him as a victim. And went to see what could be done.
Well, but if we
help him.
already know he's a suspect, what do we need to do for him?
So
because these things have
They
consequence.
matter.
Yes.
They matter.
These things have consequence. It is really a shame, because at the end of the day, I keep saying this. A lot of these things would go away if the majority of Americans would begin to look at each other as belonging to the same country and the same. If, like Mazio Deluga likes to say, if we could go beyond this culture of fear, where everybody is in their little enclave wanting just to be themselves, don't want to have anything to do, maybe we would begin to see. Let me ask you a question here.
Yes.
Laquan McDonald's family was paid off.
Yep.
Was it $5 million?
I don't remember. 4 million, 5
well,
million.
they were paid off
by the city. Yep.
So,
From my tax money.
well, because that's exactly where I'm coming to. Just recently, there's another big payout for wrongful death by Chicago police.
Yep.
I am asking the
and
media
Chicago
in Chicago,
Chicago does not have money.
Can somebody publish how much money the city has paid for Chicago cops
for the
killing
past 4
people
years.
over the past 5 years?
Yes.
Because I think Chicago taxpayers need to know this.
Yes.
We are going into an election cycle. And at that election cycle, we are going to be looking at mayors and mayoral candidates,
Chicago, yep.
all of whom will be telling you how to
All the
become
man.
physically conservative, how to save this state and this city from going financially down the tubes. One of the big reforms, I go and look at what we are paying to ensure Chicago Police Department.
No, you see,
Because it is taxpayer money
Yes.
that funds it.
No, by the way, if there's any police officer or member of a police, your spouse, your brother, your sister is a police officer, and you want to engage in this conversation,
Call in.
you can call us. And the number to call is 773 942 7167. And we'll freely give you the space to share your own perspective. And indeed, we would like somebody as police officer who feels that there is a viewpoint that you want to be heard.
So
call.
Talking about a police officer or relative of a police officer. So the wife to the guy on trial was on TV over the weekend.
Yes.
Talking about how this is all politically motivated, that it has to do with the mayor, how this is all against the husband. And I could understand how she feels.
Okay.
I could see her sorrow. I could see how she's saying that even if they win this case, that she knows that they're no longer going to be safe in this city, they will have to move. And I feel for that. But I also want her to consider the other family. How do they feel that their son didn't come home? How do other people feel walking the streets of Chicago, seeing a police car approach?
No. You see, and that is something that many have not recognized. We have a public health crisis here in the city with communities that are suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder.
Yep.
Whether people
Chirac.
believe it or not,
Yep.
in our city, there is a post-traumatic stress disorder that is going on, affecting our children, affecting mothers
Yep.
and fathers, and actually have great health consequences. And people have studied that, and people have said this is not healthy. Now, when you hear about this child killed and the mother is wailing on television, it affects every mother. Most mothers are so afraid. Where I live, where none of these things are happening, we've not seen any rush of these things happening. Do you know how much that has modeled my wife and I's behavior? My son cannot walk the sidewalk to his neighbor's house to catch a ride or visit.
You don't want him to fit the profile.
Because
Yeah.
you're afraid of a young black male walking the streets in a neighborhood that is predominantly not black,
And the police
that
being
could be,
called.
and somebody calling the police.
Oh.
No, so
we remember the hooded
no.
guy in
So
Florida
I had to wake up every morning.
and drive it.
This is 6 a.m. to be able to either walk with him or drive him less than a block,
Yep.
so that he will not. Meanwhile, the other kids
Can ride their bike.
who are not black
Yes.
are riding their their bikes all throughout,
Or walking with their backpack or hooded shirts and all that
and
stuff.
I'm talking 8-year-olds and I'm talking 9-year-olds.
Yep.
And now my children are asking, why can't we do
why
that?
why?
Yeah, why can't I ride my bike like all the
And
other
then all
kids
of a
are riding
sudden,
their bikes?
a parent is outside hustling about, no, I got to be with you. But they see their kids
Going
their-
freely.
their-
It's almost
their-
like
their-
you
their
don't trust, you don't
classmates-
trust me to.
Their classmates,
Yeah.
the other pairs roaming the street. That it's really traumatizing to our children.
But also imagine that for every black and brown family, that you got to sit your sons and daughters down and explain to them their relationship with the police, how you have to say yes sir, pronounce it very well, put your hands where I mean the things that other people don't have to worry about.
Yes.
And tell them that it's your job,
Yeah.
no matter how belligerent that guy is, to de-escalate and make sure you're obeying and paying attention at the same time.
So my thing is, I believe there's hope. And that hope is maybe one of the candidates coming in should have enough courage.
Hopefully.
No. That
Yes,
should be
yes.
the Chicago. This is your test.
Yes.
Chicago, now
The mayor,
this is the test.
alderman,
The people
governor,
that you're going to elect
the
to shepherd this city, you have to be sure what plans they have, not only to professionalize our police department
to take care of the
and
police
hold them accountable,
and give them the tools and the
and-
training they need
and please
and keep
let
them as
it be
safe as
clear
possible.
this is not anything new.
Yes.
This has been the history
It comes on every
of
election.
the police
Yep.
in Chicago. The corruption has always been known
I
to
remember-
be at the very
I
root
remember
and
one of the
foundation
first
the city.
one of the first Saturday Night Live sketches I watched, and it took me a while to get it.
Yes.
Was what's this guy that is no longer there, that is dead? I mean, the sketch was somebody was running, and then he goes pow 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 pow. Chicago police, stop! And it took me a while to get. I'm like, what's the joke? Because they're laughing. Oh, Chicago police shot first,
Before
and
you-
then they
and
gave the
then-
command to stop. And it was a joke on Saturday Night Live.
Yes.
To me, it wasn't a joke. I mean, it took me a while to get it, but when I got it, I'm like, that's a terrible joke.
Yeah.
Well,
so
it's
remember
a
the young
terrible
girl that
reputation.
was shot because she raised up a cell phone.
A cell phone. I remember it wasn't just a young girl. It happened to a young girl. It happened to a young man, both black. Police shot him because they thought they had guns.
Yeah. So my point is, if you go into the history of this city and her police, there has always been corruption, at Buck, those kinds of false torture,
Yep.
planting of
Guns,
guns
and weapons.
from the
and
days of the
drugs
mob.
and- Yep.
I'm not talking about even now that you have gangs.
Yes.
From the days of Al Capone, this city and the police have always the city police and
It's
the
it's
underworld.
about time that reputation
That's
changed.
right. We gotta recognize that and stop blaming it on black people or brown people raising up their voice about the nature and the character
Or Black
of our-
Lives Matter,
of
making
our
things
police
seem like it's
department.
terrible, more terrible
Yes.
than it is.
No, but do you know the thing? Sorry, not to cut you short. Do you know some of the thing that is surprising to me? Is that the former police superintendent is actually placing his name on the ballot.
Right.
Well,
'cause
why would he?
No, he's a free citizen.
Yeah.
So
Why would he?
question is, he has a story to tell. I'm sure he has a way to explain away his tenure.
Yes.
And so it would be interesting to have him in a debate around the issues of what was going on at the police department.
But it
Why
will-
was he was in charge?
And then-
That is where you hope
The press
but
will
that-
go.
the press will actually
But that's
do
not
their
that's
job.
not where it will go, because what it will turn out to be is they will call it the issue of gun violence, and when it gets to that two-letter word,
That-
it becomes something else. It becomes about, should we have automatic rifles
Oh, no.
or
No,
not,
no,
and
no.
how do guns flow into urban neighborhoods, and how do we get it out? It has nothing to do with policing and how you take care of. issue.
We have words that mean something entirely different.
Yes.
So when you say gun violence,
Yes.
to many in the Chicagoland area, you're talking
Everybody-
about an inner city problem.
And everybody goes
And
to their side of the
so-
argument and
so,
talking
yeah,
points.
but the last show we had, I
Yes.
think we brought up the fact that with Mayor Emmanuel's sudden departure,
It's a clean slate.
it's a wide open race.
yes.
Many who did not know that he would leave had not prepared to run. Now you can see a lot of people are coming in and gearing up to run. I would like to remind Chicagoans that this city, I can say that the only time this city actually had a serious attempt to begin to equalize the meaningfulness of life among the residents was the short time Mayor Washington was here.
Yep.
I want everybody to go and look at the track record of the Mayor Daley's father and son, because incidentally,
Another Daley
Mayor
wants to
another
run.
Daley wants to run.
Hey, it's
Okay.
a free country. You could.
I
put
am
your
not
hand
nothing
in the
against
race.
him,
Yes,
nothing
yes.
against him, but I think that voters, and it's not just Daley,
Yes.
a lot of the people who have been in government and governance at various levels, who now feel that it is their opportunity to become mayor of the city of Chicago, ask yourself a simple question. How has this city come to where it is divided between shall I say, islands of affluence and large swaths of the forgotten.
Right.
How did we get here? And recognize that it is in your power to make a change permanently.
Well, yeah, no condition is permanent, but at least to make a change then in the near future.
Well, when I say permanently, I believe that there are things you can put on the ground today.
Yes.
That if it stays on the ground for 5 years, Chicago will not
Becomes
go
a
back to
habit.
the way, yes, it used to be.
Yes.
So-
One of them being exactly what we're talking about. I feel very strongly that the good cops within the city of Chicago Police Department need to be given an opportunity, free from intimidation and harassment, to come and air their closets as to what exactly is going on within the Chicago Police Department. And those cops that clearly do not belong in any police department need to be let go in Chicago. And if the Fraternal Order of Police does not see its duty to improve or purify the police department, then perhaps they too should think about stepping aside, because Chicago deserves a good police force.
Chicago and the rest of the USA. But we're going to take a break. Before we take a break, I want to say I want to give a big shout out to all those listening to us and viewing us on Facebook Live. I know we have this shared in multiple groups, so I do not see everyone from the group I'm looking at. I could see Chigoziem, I could see Sena, I could see Confidence Chizoro Okeke. We say thank you for listening, thank you for viewing. We actually like this to be participatory, which means we would like you to leave a comment. We would like to hear your point of view. If you want to also talk to us live in the studio, you could call 773-942-7167. Once again, this is WGHC 98.3 FM, your voice, your music, your station. And we will be right back in a few seconds. Thank you.
Hey, Igbo kwenu. Hey, Kwano. Hey, Sotano. Hey, Matano. Hey, Kwesoni. Hey.
I am Mazi KK Odeluga.
Mazi Ejikeme Obasi.
Namazi Oke Okachuku.
This is Straight Talk Radio, the world as we see.
Coming to you from WGHC 98.3 FM. Your voice, your music, your station.
Listen to us this and every Saturday at 4 to 5 p.m. U.S. Central, and this and every Tuesday at 9 to 10 p.m. U.S. Central.
Ndewono.
Welcome back to Straight Talk Radio on WGHC 98.3 FM, your voice, your music, your station. Straight Talk Radio is the world as we see it. It's current affairs and news from around the world on Tuesdays. On Saturdays, we come to you between 4 to 6 p.m. U.S. Central. So if you are outside of the U.S. and you're somewhere in Africa, if you're in the West Africa region, so you could use Nigeria as a starting point. I'll give you the time for Nigeria and you could work your way backwards or forward. So on Saturday, that will be at 10 p.m. Nigerian time. We will be coming to you. But U.S. is 4 p.m. U.S. Central. And we will discuss everything Africa on Saturdays, while on Tuesdays we discuss the global world, looking mostly at the place that we start from where we live and branch out. Sometimes we start from the global world and move in. Same thing we do on Saturdays. We start from the rest of the Africa and then dig all the way back into Nigeria. Most often we end up in the eastern part of Nigeria where the Igbo people reside. Today we're discussing the Laquan McDonald case that's going on in Chicago, the trial of the police officer, Officer Van Dyke, that shot him. And we know that there's going to be a lot of deposition, a lot of discussion, a lot of trial that still has to go on. We're just discussing from our point of view what we see going on, not necessarily about Van Dyke, whether he should be convicted or not. We expect that the law should do what the law should do. We know justice is blindfolded, and has a weight on her hands to do the right thing, and we hope that
To weigh the facts.
to weigh the facts without being influenced. Okwudili Christopher, thanks for joining us and loving the show. We will continue to discuss issues and affairs like this. So tune in every Tuesday, 9 to 10 p.m. if you like this. And also on WGHC 98.3 FM, this radio station is a community radio on the Uptown area. And it's actually started by an African immigrant. This is the first of its kind. And we know that this is not the only great program on this show. If you actually have been listening to this radio station, you will know that. If you don't know, the best way to find out is to tune in. If you are in the Uptown area, it's 98.3 FM. But if you're not, download Tune In for your Android or Windows equipment. And tune in, find our station, WGHC 98.3 FM, and you could listen anytime you want. Or if you happen to have Apple equipment, download WGHC 98.3 FM app. You could listen anytime you want. If you like just calling in to listen, call this number 1-563-999-3221. 1-563-999-3221. And you could listen audio only. But I really recommend that you get the apps if you have a smartphone. If you don't have a smartphone, buy one or enter a contest to get one. But also, as you're doing that, we are a community-supported radio station, which means we live on your donations and goodwill to pay our bills and pay for the equipment. A lot of the people, actually all the people on this station are volunteers. Nobody's getting paid. We're not using your money to pay people to do the shows. What we use your money for is to pay the rent and manage the equipment that we have so that we will continue to bring these great shows to you. We have music, we have current affairs, we have cultural shows, we have arts and culture. We even, we have all kinds of music. Great DJs that you hear in the clubs and great DJs that you like to hear anyway, even the oldies but goodies that come all the way from Africa. So please go to our page, WGHCFM.org. On the top right-hand corner, you'll see a button that says Donate. Click on it and give as much as you can. And we really, really appreciate your gift. And we thank you. And all donations are tax deductible. And may you be blessed as you give. So we'll go back to our show talking about Laquan McDonald and Officer Van Dyke trial. And I would like to, I know when we ended, we were talking about, before we went on break, we were talking about Chicago and how we need a fresh start in Chicago, especially with the open wide race for the mayoral candidates. But it's not just a Chicago epidemic with this, because although Chicago has always had a history of police problems,
Yes.
it seems that this infection is metastasized and is getting everywhere in the U.S. New York had it, Florida had it. What's the other place with Michael Brown? And a lot of the places that gets a lot of mention is where it is always a racial component, where either a white officer or a police officer, that don't have to be white, just a blue badge, shoots a person of color. But there are places where it's not just a person of color. It seems there's a militarization, like you call it, or a I don't want to call it a stereotypification if there's any such word, but it seems like it's a juicing of the police, that it seems like the
Well, to help you,
Yes.
do you remember Ferguson?
Oh yes, that's Michael Brown.
You remember Michael Brown? Forget about Michael Brown. That's what precipitated it.
Right.
But what happened when demonstrators went into Ferguson? Suddenly, you're bringing in armored personnel carriers.
The militarization.
You're bringing
showed
in
up.
grenade launchers
Right.
Yes.
into an American
There's
town.
actually one that happened not too far from Ferguson that's similar to McDonald case, where the guy, people who called the police said that this guy looks like he already has a mental issue, and he's known in that neighborhood to have mental issues.
Yes.
They still came, shot him because he had a can and had a knife, according to police report.
No, you see, what needs to be understood is what history teaches us.
Yes.
The police was built in this country as an arm of control, social control for the Africans
Right. If
and
we
the native,
if
and
we
the-
go all the way back,
and
yes.
the Native Americans.
Yes.
And that is the way the sheriffs and the Wild Wild West have always.
So you're saying the foundation,
and that is the point.
the foundation was set a long time ago,
So,
and the
so
concrete.
think about what was going on at the plantation level.
Yes.
Because you see, whether we like it or not,
Yes.
what we see at the national level
Yes.
was playing out at the plantation level.
Yep.
So the plantation was the microcosm of the government that became part of our national experience.
Yes.
So for the African in that plantation, he had no right, she had no right, which can be protected by anyone. They were at the whims and the caprices of the plantation owner, the slave master. And so he or she is a property,
Yep.
can be shot, killed, his life, her life
Was not
is in his
not human.
Wasn't ha-
Eventually got up to 3/4.
is in his hands. So whatever he chooses to do, nobody has ever been tried for killing a slave. And then you come after the Emancipation Proclamation was declared,
Yes.
the during the Reconstruction era,
Yep.
with the emergence of the KKK and the white nationalists, lynching
And roasting and barbecuing of
was normal.
black people. Yep.
And so people were taken from police custody and lynched in
Yep.
front of the police station.
Yep.
And
Murder was being
held
committed.
accountable.
Yes.
And nobody was held accountable.
Accountable, yep.
So for a lot of the police force, this is still part of their assignment. What they see historically is we got to control these
People.
people.
So there is still two Americas.
No,
Even
these-
though
no,
Barack
these-
was telling us there's no blue or black,
No.
or white or green.
No, that's what America hopes to become.
Yes.
And that was what
The perfecting
actually,
of the union.
that's what inspired many to look to that America. But how much of that America did his leadership, the leadership core, those who were in Congress, those who were at the state and the local level, did they buy into that vision that he so much articulated for America? Nothing new. What President Obama was talking about is not new.
No,
he
wasn't
he
the first.
literally
He wouldn't be the last.
rephrased.
Yep.
He rephrased our foundational creed
Yes.
that all men are created equal, and which is the same song that Martin Luther King Jr. sang all throughout the civil rights.
Kennedy.
And that's part of what Kennedy inspired America to do.
Yes.
But the question is, are we willing? Do we have men and women of courage?
So
Well,
if I have to rephrase what
so-
you're saying that this is a work that's been ongoing, and this is not the time to rest on our laurel and say, we elected a black man, so everything is good, and even if he's no longer the president, you're saying there's much work to do to undo the terrible foundation.
I actually think that with the election of Barack Obama, it brought out
He escalated.
the ugly side of America that many had forgotten still exists. Let me just... Can somebody explain to me why so many people were so angry that a group of young people knelt down in a stadium to protest
Okay.
exactly what we're talking about with regards to Laquan McDonald?
So actually, let me move back a little bit because
So why
a lot
why
of people
the
keep
anger?
asking why are they kneeling down, and it doesn't matter how often you repeat or play the tape of what they said or why they were kneeling down. People still ask. So let me go back and say why they are kneeling down. Kaepernick and a lot of players in the NFL, and it's actually affecting all the other sports and even beyond the NFL, wherever football is played, they are kneeling because of police brutality, the unequal treatment of citizens of the USA that seems to be on the basis of race and color. That's what the kneeling is for. And the Constitution of the United States guaranteed that you could protect. You have a right to protect and have free speech, however you deem
Freedom
fit,
of assembly.
even when the national anthem is playing.
Yes.
So,
But the interesting thing,
Yes.
my America
Yes.
is not diminished. Whether you knelt, you sat, you stood, you flipped over during the national anthem. What the national anthem says is still what it says. What America is That's what.
Now, don't
it's
get
just-
me started
no,
on
no,
what
no,
the
no,
national
no.
anthem
No,
says.
no, no, no,
That's
no.
a different show.
No, no, no.
But my
Can I
other
just
issue
say-
is
yes.
you see, as a Christian,
Yes.
if somebody is burning the Bible
Yes.
in some corner of the world, I'm not going to flip out that my religion is destroyed.
Because you have learned to turn the other cheek and let God be God and work it out.
Yes,
No,
I
but
don't care who.
My issue there is not really that. It is that. So, we all believe in America,
Yes.
and we all believe in the Constitution.
Yes.
We all believe in the inalienable rights endowed on all who are citizens of this country, except when they are people of color.
Well, and also, it's not just that, right? There are these excuses that, well, why are they doing it when we're paying them millions of dollars to play ball and it's my time of leisure? Why don't they do it any other time other than this time?
So and to them I say, why? Because a kid like Laquan McDonald can be shot 16 times where he was no threat to anybody. They are kneeling because a man is in his own house, inside his
We're gonna
house.
go to Texas,
Somebody
and we
opens
are
a
running
door
out of time.
and shoots him in his house. And the only thing a reporter can report is that, marijuana was found in
Which
the house.
is the same thing we're talking about Laquan McDonald. So we're talking about the cover-up by the police, and it seemed obvious in the Laquan McDonald case after it's been uncovered.
Yes.
But this is the subtle one that happens, like the one that happened in Texas.
Yes.
A guy sitting in his room, a guy
In his
enjoying
house.
his own
Because
house
when you say his
was
room,
shot
it's- yes.
and killed by an intruder.
Yes.
And they had a listing of all the things that were found in the apartment. A lot of it belonging to the woman that shot him. But what the Fox people, the Fox 4 local news in Texas picked up was that marijuana was found in his apartment, and the way it was placed makes it seem like it was his. Marijuana and the paraphernalia was found were his, as if they definitely know that it is, and they don't. They tried to update the news, and the update they cared to share was that now that the lawyer and the family are angry that the marijuana was found, which is not an update because it still gives the impression
Narrative that this young man did
as
marijuana.
if the lady walked in and said, you have marijuana, you shouldn't have it, put it down, and he didn't, and she shot him. It didn't happen that way.
First
It had
of
nothing
all,
to do with what's going
she
on.
did not have a warrant. Neither did the police after
She,
he was
by
killed.
her own admission, is saying, I went into the wrong apartment.
Okay. So
Somebody who's lived in the apartment for 2 months went into a wrong apartment, one floor difference.
So the second question:
And
when
didn't-
you find
and didn't
marijuana,
notice, and didn't notice she was in the wrong apartment until after she killed the
No,
man.
the question
when
is,
you found marijuana in that house, in the man's house, did you do a drug test on the woman who shot him?
That's the thing, that we should see the toxicology report on the woman. We should see what
Was
was
it
found
not?
in her apartment. We should see what was found in her car. Who is leaking these things?
But
And
again, this is the subtle way.
it is that
the
blue
press-
code. It is that cover up. It is the let's smear the guy to get our person out.
But that's why the world is watching.
Yes.
These tricks we already know.
Oh yes.
So what the communities should be doing is not pay attention to the drama, but to ask the simple question:
Yes.
why was another life taken
Taken.
so carelessly
In their own
in his own
Space.
house space? And now, so those are the questions we should be asking. That's my hope, is that there's something new, something unique happening here in Chicago.
yes.
The young activists on the streets are beginning to score some good success by asking hard questions and pressing and allowing the truth to come out. Ade budafi mi aka
No.
asina akufesi alodalawo.
Yes.
Na mgbe eji na bụ mgbe na onye baa n'okpuru mmiri wee rie asụna unere na agbụlịgbu ya ga-ese n'elu.
Yes. Yes.
So we are,
for those who don't understand, just know that HED.
that's right. What is important is we are in a new era.
Yes.
And the political process is allowing and shaping in such a way that we want truth out in this city. And so long as we hold people accountable, we will bring reform. And reform is not just strictly to help with our community, but I think the reform is to help the entire city, because it's one city, one people. We all live in this cloud. We all live under this whole space. It's all of us. It's all of us. And so together, we should be able to find a way to solve our problems. And so let the professionals in the police department continue to do the good work they're doing. And please help us flush out the so-called bad apples, and let those who are in leadership make sure that our police department is brought into accountability. What the Justice Department under Obama had planned to do with the consent decree is the way to go.
Which Sessions is now trying to take away.
So
that
we are way over time. This is a good discussion that will continue. So what we will say is Kachifono, and we will continue this. Thanks for listening, and we say hooray to the men in blue and those out there who actually do their job and put their life on the line to try to protect us, and may the truth set us all free.
May the whistleblowers continue blowing their whistles.
Amen.
Obasinta.
Kachifono.